Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited that you are willing to be here, and I'm excited for a conversation that we're going to have. I do want to give everyone a little bit of background, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so Tammy here is a provider located in Dallas, Texas. She practices mental health in not only Texas, but also New Mexico and Colorado. She is the owner of True Soul Counseling and Consulting. She is an Air Force veteran and is formally trained as a psychedelic integration therapist through the MDMA-assisted therapy program with MAPS. She offers a warm, welcoming presence and can hold your story with a gentle kindness.
Oh, that sounds so nice.
You helped me
Thank
write it.
you. Thank you. Thank you for the way that your voice just caressed the words. It just
You're
adds life. Thank you.
just
Well,
warm velvet, yes.
yes, yes. Thank you so much, Heather, for having me on your first show. I am so honored. I am beyond. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm number one
You're number one. Yes, yes,
in
yes.
history forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I really
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that.
Of
And so thank
course.
you so much for this.
Of course. Of course. So let's dive in. Um, so there's a lot that I want to talk about, and um, if anything feels off the table, let me know. Like I said yesterday, if there's anything that you want to focus on, please let me know.
Mm, Good. That gave me an opportunity to take a breath, take a swallow.
What are you
Because
drinking?
I'm some turmeric tea,
Oh,
lemon and
yum,
turmeric.
yum,
Yeah, but
yum.
after this, I'm going to eat. So
Good, good. How are you feeling just in this moment?
a little nervous.
Mhm.
Not gonna lie, a little nervous, a little like, okay, so we're here now. And I think that it speaks well because it's just flowing with the universe. The door is open, walk through it, see what happens.
Yes, yes, and I
Mhm.
totally understand that feeling, that nervousness, and yeah, I think I definitely just yeah, sitting with that nervousness in my body, like, trying
Mhm.
to kind of figure out, um, what would just support it in moving, and so I like that you took a breath, I like that you took a drink of tea,
Yeah.
and we're here in it together, just
Yes.
connecting over story, which we know how to
Mhm.
do. We do that well.
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just has another layer on top of it. But I mean
Mhm. Yes, yes,
yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, partly why I wanted to start this podcast. Like, there is pressure around how we show up as therapists in the world and in spaces like this.
Mhm.
And you know better than anyone, like, the importance of just allowing yourself to show up imperfectly and messy. It's part of that destigmatization.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Mhm. So, I am very curious to know more about your story. How did you get started in the world of mental health? How do you go from military to mental health? What has that journey been like for you?
Oh, good question. And I don't thank you for asking on many levels. One is because being in that therapist role, you don't get to share that often. You're the listener,
Yes.
you're the holder of the container. So I appreciate this opportunity. Uh, I was, my family history was I'm coming from an abusive family, I'm coming from an abusive relationship. Going into the military, I was just like, actually, it was an escape. I was running away
Hmm.
when I joined the Air Force to escape all of the violence that I had experienced. I had been, there was child molestation and all of the things that I'm working with now, my
Mhm.
clients, trauma. And going into the military, it was like that was the great escape. I could finally just rely on myself. I could be independent. I don't have to, then there's also that um, feeling of control, which is ironic in the military. But
Yes.
I finally had control over where I lived as far as I was going back and forth from my mom's house to my abuser back and forth, and they both were abusing me. And I didn't
Mm,
realize this
mm,
until I got into my clinical psychology, the master's program for clinical psychology. I was stationed in Germany, and that's one of the questions I asked one of my instructors. I loved her. She said, I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm realizing all of these things about myself. Now I don't know who I am." Just going to the course, just going in the classes, and just doing a lot of self reflecting, I started second guessing, who am I?
yeah.
You know, uh, and so after a while, I'm talking to my not therapist, my I wish I should have been. If I had known better, I would have had one. However, I was talking to uh, my instructor and the
Mm,
one that was sharing, hey, when you learn more about yourself, you're going to be making some changes that you never thought that you would make.
mhm,
So I got married. I was married then 23 years. At the end of 23 years, I decided to leave my husband,
mm,
learning so much about, whoa, this isn't right. And whoa, this isn't right. And the more I got involved, the more I started working with those in trauma, experiencing trauma on the military bases, and what those families and those relationships look like, and religious, and
mm.
just so many things that people are not really aware of in the military community.
Yes.
Those that are in it,
Yes.
they don't notice that this is what's going on. Those are outside of it. They just think, oh, military, oh, oh,
Structure.
yeah, like
Yes.
you must love it. And I mean, I did love it, but I came to understand it for what it was and
Mm,
how it would benefit me as I learned more about myself.
mm,
I
mm.
don't know if I answered your question,
You
Heather, but
did, you
okay.
did. Yeah, yeah.
Good, good.
There's so many layers to military culture. What you're describing is so common, and I
Hmm.
totally hear and empathize with that need for escapism. And the
Hmm.
military really gives a sense of that safety.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you get to see, as even beyond just escaping what I was escaping,
Mhm,
I was able to see a whole new world that I
mhm,
had never, I think I had traveled just a few places. I'm from Buffalo, New York.
mm,
So I traveled a few places. To me, Canada I should say, it hasn't moved because I moved, but 5 minutes from where I grew up. And
mm,
so Canada was just, I didn't even realize, oh, that's a whole new country. But it was there, maybe a couple other places in the States. But when I got in the military, and I was just in Europe and here, and I saw the culture, and I saw how people were. Uh, it seemed like they were more genuine, in
mm.
different cultures, and just seeing how people are able to just be who they are, regardless of the Joneses. They are fitting into this, or they're
Yes.
fitting over here. And so I was able to discover my own self and my individuality
Mhm,
in that process also, because it was like, well, I've never fit in before,
mm,
so this
mhm,
is more of the same. I don't
mm.
fit in, and be comfortable in that, and just being able to find out what I like, what I don't like. I mean, not that it was easy. It was very challenging.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah. I can't even imagine the challenge
Mhm.
in trying to conform.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And going back to my mom was religious, hyper religious. I didn't realize that my husband was just like my mom. you know,
Attachment's fun, right? We
exactly.
do what
It's
we
like,
know. Yeah.
absolutely. I had
Mhm,
no clue, and I'm just thinking, to get accepted from my mom, I married this guy, and I'm like, "Oh, well, he's good," and all of the things. Didn't realize I'm not saying he's a narcissist, but, those traits that came out, those things that I was like, "Oh, controlling, oh, this," and I don't like that. And
Yeah.
being able to put voice to, "Hey, I don't like that."
Hmm. What do you think allowed you to finally put voice to what you were experiencing, what you no longer wanted to tolerate?
What allowed me to do it? Actually, and ironically, I was in El Paso. So we got back to the States and got to El Paso, and I started working with a private psychiatric hospital there.
Mm,
And I was on working with psychosis. Then I moved to a military unit. And then in these places, you'll find that they're very short staffed. So I'm young in the field. I'm young as a therapist. Now I'm the director over the military unit, as
wow.
well as I'm the case manager.
Oh
I'm
my
putting
gosh.
together,
Of
we're
course.
doing trainings for EMDR. I'm doing it all.
Yeah,
So,
you
of
have to wear
course,
all the hats.
all the hats.
Yeah.
And so we were having, there were people that were completing suicide attempts.
Mm,
And and I'm calling the ward and every at 9:30 at night. Can we just say there was a lot of countertransference? There was a lot of boundaries that I was so worried and inundated. At the same time, I felt like that was my role because it was short staffed.
yeah.
But if I had known better, if I had a therapist of my own, if I had been practicing self care, I would have left work at work and
Mm,
I would have been fine. Er, However, I experienced burnout,
yeah.
and so which threw me into a manic episode,
Mm,
and I had to just step way, way back and 'cause as you can imagine, and take care of myself. And so in doing that, I went through several challenges during that time. I realized, I gotta take it. That's when it came to me. "Ah, take care of me. I can't think about what you and you and you and you expect.
mm,
I'm sorry. I can't feel all of that. Because then it was about self-preservation, you know?
yes. Yeah, right back into survival. You have to
Yeah.
do what you have to do.
Yeah. So I picked up my stuff. I moved to Dallas. And I just said, I'm just gonna just we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And went and stayed in extended stay
Mm,
until I saved up my money and bought my house.
yeah. So you really rebuilt completely.
Yeah,
You walked away
I
and you
re-
had to rebuild.
I had to. It was either that or I didn't even know about another choice. I didn't even let my mind go to another choice besides sitting in a corner and sucking my thumb and crying.
Mhm. Yes.
And then who was going to save me? So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's that hyper independence that happens in trauma. Like, you are
yeah,
who you can rely on. You're the one that
yeah,
comes through every day. And I mean, the ability to function in such chaos is something that feels safe at times.
yeah,
Yeah. It's like,
yeah,
I know what to do in this. This is familiar. I got this. This actually
yeah.
sometimes even feels better or safer than when things are calm. Like, knowing what to
Oh,
do in quiet? Oh, Lord, no.
oh, exactly. Oh, yes. I love the way you put that because that's exactly how it goes, right? It's
Mhm.
what? Because if it's quiet, and like the other shoe is gonna drop. It's just way too quiet.
Yes. Yes.
Something bad is gonna happen because it's calm.
Mhm.
And even in those spaces, I had to realize it's like every step I took, if there was mayhem or some calamity, it's like, okay, just you can do this because and you just have to focus on this because there's some type of structure in chaos
Mhm.
because of trauma background, right? And
Yes.
so the more I recognized that I was doing that all the time. I said, okay, it wasn't working because then I would go into this deep depression and then I would, sink. And I said, okay, I'm just going to have to learn how to be moment by moment and stay present in the moments.
Mm.
Ironically, I've been telling my clients this the whole time, right?
Yes, that's always the irony. Do as I say, not as I do. Okay, we're trying to build a new pathway. I know what that one looks like. Been there, done that. Yes.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, you can attest to that. It's like, okay, well, I guess I better see if it's really true.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then I just, okay, let's just, whatever is happening right now, let's just deal with right now.
Mm.
Let's just, if this is good, then let it feel good. If this is not good, then what can we do to make it better? What is happening in the moment as opposed to next week and, oh, I've got this other thing I've got to do. And
Yeah. That's such a hard shift.
yeah, it is.
Yeah. Do you attribute that shift to where you are today? Like that ability
I
to be more present?
I I do. I attribute it to everything that led up to it.
Hmm.
Um, Everything that led up to where I am right now. I think it started getting, and I don't even know if I want to say easier, but it's easier. But that does not translate to simple or it was a walk in the park. It was just
Yeah.
easier than the hell that I was going
Mhm.
through.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think, because there's that increase of self-awareness, it's like, okay, I know what I feel like when I'm going through this because I'm paying attention.
Mhm.
Like I'm paying attention when, for instance, if I start slacking, if I have sessions, I do, my sessions are virtual.
Hmm.
And I love face to face, but it just makes sense to keep it virtual. There are a lot of people that are still with virtual, and so it just works out. But if I realize that, at my 1 o'clock isn't showing, or the possibility of them not showing, I'm getting like, oh, good. Oh,
You get an
good.
hour to just
Yeah,
chill. Yes. Eat a snack, scroll, go for a
exactly.
walk. Yeah. Whatever it is you need.
Yes. And alongside of that is, okay, so if I am considering canceling the following sessions, then I start saying, okay, what's happening? What are you feeling? Because typically
Mm.
I am so excited, to whoever I'm going to have, then, oh, good. I wonder what they did. And I wonder if they, did the homework, or, what happened during the week for them. I'm just really curious. I'm their cheerleader. I'm excited for them. But if I find that I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yes.
I don't wanna.
Yes. Yes. It's that cue. Like, what is happening in me? What do I need?
It,
How do I need to fill
yes,
my cup? Yeah.
yes,
Yes.
you got
Yes.
me.
Oh, I got you because that experience, I think, is so universal and we never talk about it. There's so much shame in, like, why would I cancel a session just because I'm having a bad day, right? And we, like, one of my favorite phrases is you go into the world of therapy as a therapist to figure your own shit out. And so we're all coming from our own story.
Yeah,
And sometimes our story shows up and we can't be a full safe container for someone else. And we
mhm,
need to take that step back and really give time and space to fill our cup so that we can step back into and be the provider other people deserve.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it's so ironic though that we did not know this, or we
They don't teach you that.
didn't.
They do not teach you that shit. They're like, okay, have 20 jobs. We're going to pay you $16,000 a year. And
Yeah.
here's like all of the most high level crisis people knocking on your door 24/7.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you start out, I mean, and You already know you don't get the money. There, if anyone says that you're doing it for the money, you just when I hear
I
that,
love
oh,
being poor.
yeah, when I hear that, like, okay, for instance, I had to create some paperwork. We had to go through the when you share the prices, or what is it called? No Surprise Act
Yes.
for the. So I did that. Here you go. Here you go. And by the way, if you cancel within 48 hours, I said 48. I know some people say 24, but
That's
I
lenient.
need somebody else, or because
Mhm.
I am so thankful that I do stay booked. And so I'm like, let someone else have that opportunity. If you're not, you have time. Even if they don't come, or if they say, "Oh, I need to reschedule," they can reschedule,
Mhm.
and no issue. But if you can't reschedule, you are canceling at the last minute, or you just flat out no show, that's a
Mhm.
boundary issue. That's a
Yeah.
concern,
Yeah.
and I'm setting bound and I'm trying to practice what I preach in all areas. But I set a dollar amount for that
Mhm.
because maybe you maybe you'll adhere to it and respect my and other individuals who are looking for that time slot, or that can be healed, or as we are together in this healing process, of course. But if not, look, I can reschedule, no problem, no
Mhm.
problem. But it's also part of the therapeutic relationship, and it's
Yes.
part of your therapy.
It's
It's
part of being human too. Like, as a
Mhm.
therapist, like, I'm a human. Things impact me. And when I
Yeah,
can't rebook someone or when I do lose that hour, that impacts me. And so it's so
absolutely.
important to be able to say that with clients like, do you understand not only your situation, but my situation? That person who couldn't get into my calendar situation. Like,
Yeah,
we're all equal in this process.
absolutely.
Like, absolutely. So, I
Yeah.
wanna go back to what you said earlier. You were, I have so much curiosity and kinda more in that idea of pressure of doing all the things, wearing all the hats, having to
Mhm.
fulfill all of these positions. Do you feel like being a woman of color impacted that pressure you experienced?
Absolutely. And I say that, I'm thinking to myself, absolutely. And then I'm thinking, well, yeah, because you are, as a growing up and witnessing how, I mean, let's just be blunt about it. In my age, and I'm menopausal, by the way, which is also human,
We'll
you
we'll bleep it out. You can say it. It's safe.
But I mean, with that, as far as I'm looking at what my mom experienced. I'm watching her as I'm a child, and her not being able to, she was only able to fulfill this one part. Even with our different intersections of identity, it's just one thing that we're good for, nurturing.
Mhm.
And why would we, as far as your ambition is concerned, that should take a seat. That's in the back. Why would you want to do anything other than what you are doing right now? You should be grateful that you are able to do that.
Yes.
And for me, it has been along with the reason, because of my mom and her, she was really hands off. She was
Mm.
really like, I'm not doing anything. And of course, the abuse. So I've had to figure it out. I've
Yeah.
had to uh, do all of the things.
Mm.
And so I witnessed her doing all of the things to do. I mean, she was a single, hats off to her. I loved her. She was my queen. Uh, she did all of the things. She
Mhm.
was a single mom. She moved us into this predominantly area and wanted the best for her kids, but she was just not, she didn't do the nurturing. She didn't do the mom.
Yeah, you
She
were the
just
caretaker.
I was, yeah,
Yeah.
and let's just
Yeah. Yeah.
and to shape. And so for me, it's like, no, I have to do this and then do this because mom showed me and taught me and to do it. I had to. I can't
Mhm.
rely on anyone else.
Mhm.
And that causes problems, of course, in other relationships because, I didn't learn how to lean or to trust, of course.
Mm.
Can't trust you because
Yeah. You're never there in the ways that I need you emotionally to be there.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so hard when your your maladaptive coping becomes adaptive, right? Like the
Yes.
things that harmed me then become useful and get me
Mhm.
the awards, get me the stars, push me to go further, go
Mhm.
longer, go harder. Um,
Mhm.
it is that I hear you earlier when you were talking about like those depressive stretches. It is that collapse of like, I literally can't go any further.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Cannot go and then feel guilty that
Yes.
you
It's your
can't.
fault. You're doing something wrong. Why can't you just take care of yourself?
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Ah, and so and then to go back to that's how and I'm grateful. All of the things that created us, as bad as they were, and as good as they were, also helps with me being able to hold space for others. For the clients that I'm working with, I work predominantly with BIPOC and LGBTQ, and
Mm.
they are mostly it's trauma struggles or bipolar or dealing with addiction and chronic pain. Actually going into working with ayahuasca.
Oh my goodness, tell me more. I really wanna know how, psychedelics has shown up in your practice, what you're hoping for. That's
Yes,
exciting.
I am super excited. Well, we met.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes, we were meant
Yes. Yes, we
to.
were ready.
Yes. And so I'm practicing walking through doors or when opportunities are presenting themselves, said, okay, let's see what happens. And
Mhm.
so with ayahuasca, I met someone at MAPS and there were some questions and some conversations about, well, is there any ayahuasca ceremonies? Because, I guess, well, for me, I'll speak for me. I just want to know about it all.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to know, how is this going to help healing? How is this going to connect us and unify us and help us to recognize that we are really, truly one? And if I benefit, you benefit.
Mhm.
And so, with that thought and those feelings, there were other people that were there, and they mentioned some ceremonies that they were having in all different parts of the state. I mean, what was it? California and Denver. So I did go to Denver, had my experience.
You
It was
journeyed.
wow, I did, and I said like it was but it was whew. it
Yes. Yes.
was it was it was what I needed.
Mhm.
It was not what I did not expect. I went in with an intention, but not with an expectation. Just that it was going to be difficult. That was
Mhm.
actually true. It was,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
I learned a lot about myself in
Mhm.
that space,
Mhm.
and it prompted me to want to share that with others. You know how it goes. You get
Oh,
something, and
yeah.
you're like,
Yes.
"Oh, I want other people to do this too. This is
Yes.
great."
Yes. It
Yeah,
it definitely fans the flame because
ab
there's so much healing that can happen,
mhm.
um, and I think having safe containers to do so therapeutically is so important in that process.
Absolutely.
How
Ab
if people are looking into ayahuasca, any kind of psychedelic, um, what would you say to them as far as readiness? How would someone know that they're ready?
Oh, well, I really believe that you should pay attention to your inner dialogue and your because it's inner directed, right? And
Mhm.
so it's all about paying attention to yourself and then what is your intention? And then to do the research because everything ain't for everybody. This
Yes.
is what I truly believe.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know?
And that's a hard sell because of where we are
Mhm.
in the psychedelic world right now. Everyone wants, like, "This is the magic."
Yeah.
And for some, it might not be.
Yes. Yes, and that's very true, and those some of those people are not willing to accept that, and some of the people that are, um, likely working with them and to help them to create that space, may not be on board with that because they feel like, "Oh, this is the end all be all. This is the magic pill,"
Mhm.
and it's not. And I think as we continue with growing and learning more, and as uh, these approvals come on board with MDMA and psilocybin, I know that they're legal in some places. Well, I know psilocybin is legal in some places, and I'm can't wait to work with that. A lot of it is being done underground,
Mhm.
um, but hopefully with someone who is you know, really doing the prep work, you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
doing a lot of the prep work.
Yeah. I think part of the success with any psychedelic is the preparation and the aftercare, like the pre-care,
Mhm.
aftercare. What is your structure in your brain? Like, have you done enough of that foundational work to be able to
Yeah.
really hold the medicine so that
Mhm.
the medicine can really flow and go where it needs to go?
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's like, yeah, there's risk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we can't just be willy-nilly with it. And which is why I'm really I go through that prep work with them to see, working with ketamine and working with
Mm,
other medicines, and we're really making sure that they're comfortable and educating them as much as possible and having them doing their own research.
mm. Yeah.
And if it's easy for them or if it's possible for them to talk it over with their family or someone that they trust before really diving into because it does it does affect you. Non-ordinary states of consciousness does not mean that everyone will be okay in that state.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely destabilizing.
Mhm.
I mean, I do a lot of work in ego state, and so even
Mm.
when I'm talking to people about the possibility of doing a journey, those
Mhm.
parts will come up, and
Oh,
not all parts are in agreement, and so having the humility to really pause and say, "Am I ready? Can I trust myself? Can all parts of me trust the process or trust the person I'm working with?"
yes.
Is
Yeah.
very vulnerable and scary because you might get a no, and
Yeah.
you might get a yes, "I'm ready," and then you go for it.
Mhm. 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 You mentioned as far as having those parts in that ego state, uh, even when those parts come up, if you could sit with it, okay,
Yes.
I recognize that is my ego. How
Mhm.
can I let go? That's ironically, that's exactly what happened on my ayahuasca journey.
Mm.
I thought I was letting go.
You were all about the control in letting go. Yes. That resonates so hard.
Yeah, letting go.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and I just had to say, okay, okay, is working with the spirit. I call her Mama Aya, and working
Mm,
with the spirit and saying, okay, I need to let go, and really even saying it and verbalizing it.
mm,
It was almost like a key unlocking it and kind of like gently easing me into releasing. But even up until the last, I was like, okay. um,
yes.
and so I'm really excited after that to, went through integration, continuing actually to go through
Mm.
integration and leaving for Peru on Monday for the facilitator training in
Oh
ayahuasca.
my god, I didn't know that. That's incredible, and thank you for being here again. Holy shit. You should be, like, packing.
I did,
Okay.
I packed,
You're
I
like, "Girl, I'm
packed.
ready." Good, 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 good. That is
Yeah,
so exciting. Where are you gonna be?
and Peru
Mhm, but,
and
like, where?
Pucallpa.
Okay.
Pucallpa and Amazon, and so they're gonna teach us how to locate it, how to brew it, and of course, we're gonna go on journeys. I'm 100% nervous. I'm looking at it as, it's apprehension, it's not anxiety, so that's a good thing from what I hear.
Mhm. Yes.
And, because even with that, you never know. You can have several journeys. I've had several journeys with psilocybin and others, and they are not all the same.
No, no. Yeah. Every journey is different,
Hmm.
and different things come up. I mean, I really
Yeah.
believe, like, what is needing to show up will show up,
Hmm.
and I love what you said about just sitting with those parts that show up. When I did one of my journeys, the provider was like, "What if we just sat back instead of pushing?" Like,
Huh?
we
Oh,
just and I was like, "Oh," because
yeah.
I was ready, like, I wanted to go there, I wanted to heal these things, but there were
Yeah.
parts of me that weren't ready, that were fearful or scared, and so even having that wisdom of someone else seeing me in a
Yeah.
different way was so
Mhm.
helpful, and so even as you go to this teacher training in Peru,
Yeah.
you're gonna be surrounded by so much wisdom, generations and generations and generations.
Yes. Yes. I'm super excited. I'm super honored. I have so much gratitude when we talk about the challenges and the things that have led me. Yeah, I mean, some of those experiences that I've had, I wouldn't wish them upon my enemy,
Mhm.
Um, but I am grateful, one, that I lived through it, and I
Mm.
survived it. That's
Mhm.
it. That I survived it,
Yes.
and that I'm able to use that, like you mentioned earlier, to formulate how I'm moving through the rest of my life on these other chapters of my journey, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and there is such a difference between surviving and thriving, and you, Tammy, are now thriving because of the work you've done, and it
Yeah.
takes persistence and recommitment and support.
Mhm. Mhm.
It takes a lot.
It does. And I'm going to piggyback on that support piece because it does. I want to really emphasize community, you know,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
to able to sit and have these conversations, which is another reason why I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited
Thank
that you're
you.
doing this podcast because this is something that we can sit down and we can have these conversations and be human and be
Yes.
okay with
Mhm.
being.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
I prefer it that way.
Yes, me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. I mean, everyone has a story, and it's
Right.
how do you allow community to hold you in your story? And can you be in
Mhm.
your own story? And you've worked really hard to be in your own story, and so have
Yeah,
I. And so now we can
exactly.
have these conversations.
Right, right, and not discount because even, the pieces of the story, if we look at the pieces, those are those parts that we're talking about, right? Those pieces of us are those parts that are hiding or that are afraid or that are upset. And so just welcoming, when we're
Mhm.
having these discussions, we're able to welcome all the parts and all the parts could sit at the table and have a voice.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the container of just safety, love,
Yeah.
kindness. It's all
Yeah.
there on your shirt. You're ready. Yes. 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 So,
Ah,
I am very, very excited to see what's next for you. Where can people find you, follow up?
well, a funny story. I am planning on actually building a website
Love
per
it. Mhm.
you.
Love it. Love it. I don't
And
know about that, but I'll shoot you some links.
there you go. There you go. It's just, I'm also at the end of my my research, I finished research. I'm turning in my paper. Actually, turned it in, and they turned it back to me, and so now I have to
That's normal in the
defend.
process. Yeah, they
Yeah.
never accept copy 1. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's deferred, but I need to be done this quarter because, time is dime.
Mhm.
And so that's what I'm doing. I've been doing so many things as well as, my practice and so the school and then doing this ayahuasca training. And I want to be done with school so that I can do the website, so that I can do the things and then I can
Yes. Yeah, you're flowing. You're
flow.
flowing, and it's gonna
Yeah,
happen when you're ready, and
yes.
that you got more important shit right now. You have to go journey to Peru.
Exactly, exactly.
Priority number 1.
Number 1, that's right. Because the
Yes.
dogs are taken care of, so we're
Good.
good.
Good, good, good. Awesome. Well, I am grateful for who you are and who you've become and who you want to be, and just that continued growth and learning and being willing to have conversation in community like this, because I've learned a lot from you as well, which is why I thought of you, because you are such a joyful spirit, and that's what our community needs, is more joy.
Oh, thank you, you're gonna bring me to tears, girl.
It'd be okay if we
Thank
cried.
you.
That'd be fine.
Like, thank you. I appreciate and really appreciate and love you, so you know this, of course. And thank you for having me on your show.
Of course.